Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Journey Now podcast. We've done a few of these before, but today we have one of my favorite sidekicks, Grant Opperman, former elder, possibly CIA agent,
now younger,
volunteer of the year. So many things to our church community, and also specifically this year is helping us out with our partners and the relationships with our partners, of which we have one here, Mark Campbell, who's actually a very vibrant part of our church community. He serves in lots of ways with the students specifically, and also in our music ministry. But Mark leads us to Room in the Inn. So we're going to talk about Room in the Inn today and our partnership with them. And then Steve Mills is here, also volunteer extraordinaire. You'll find him at the coffee bar at least once a month on Sunday mornings. But you also have really kind of found your niche with Room in the Inn. Like, I believe that Mark has actually said it doesn't go well without you.
Well, that's good. It definitely. That's true.
You'll find Steve asleep on the floor at
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much.
No.
Not so much sleep.
No. But you really do make the winter shelter nights really go off really well. So we're grateful for your participation in that. But I thought today we could talk a little bit about Room in the Inn and homelessness in general, and homelessness specifically in Nashville, and what that looks like. Mark, why don't you start off by giving us a little bit of history of Room in the Inn?
So Room in the Inn is celebrating 40 years of doing what they do. So it started with Charlie Strobel, who welcomed people into his building 40 years ago in 1985 on a cold winter night.
He was a priest?
He was a priest in East Nashville. Offered him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a place to sleep. And that really begins Room in the Inn. He partnered with 4 congregations the next winter. And then by the end of that winter, he had 31 congregations that were participating with him. And then last year, we had about 115 congregations that participated in our winter shelter program. And it has gone up all the way to about 200 congregations. But it's really Nashville's response to being able to supply shelter during the wintertime, November to the end of March every year. And it's the same thing he did that first night. We haven't really changed much. It's somewhere to sleep, dinner, breakfast in the morning, and that's it. And those things are the requirements to do the program. And so it's really simple. It helps the taxpayers because they're not paying any money for shelter. It helps people to be able to be next to people who are experiencing homelessness and actually get what is going on in that world from them rather than from me or from a politician or somebody else. It's an incredible program. And then beyond that, Room in the Inn has a downtown campus where they do showers and laundry and all kinds of things, wraparound services. We have recovery community for veterans, for people coming out of the hospital, coming out of rehab facilities, coming out of prison. I mean, there is so much. And then on top of that, we have 48 permanent supportive apartment units that people live in. They pay their rent. We are their landlords for that. So the one little simple act of just saying, you know what, I'm seeing people cold outside. Let me welcome them in. That hospitality has turned into a huge response to it rather than just a one-night experience. And that's generally how most hospitality and generosity happens. Starts small and goes big.
I'm curious, Mark, what was happening in Nashville before Room in the Inn came along for winter shelter? Because it's not like, if you're in where I grew up in California, you can be overnight on the streets, but when you have cold weather here, you can't. And what are the alternatives for those people, or what were?
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Nashville Rescue Mission has been the main supplier of overnight shelter for a long time. I'm not even sure how many years they've been doing it.
They have a men's campus and a women's campus.
They do. And then before that, there really wasn't. It was that. And what's interesting is that in the 40 years of our existence, there hasn't been, outside of a few pocket things, there hasn't been more services added. There's need for more, but nothing has changed in 40 years. Us, rescue mission, and then the Office of Homeless Services will open up an additional shelter when it gets below 32 degrees. That's it. And so there really hasn't been a huge response. I think Nashville, Tennessee, there's always been a care for neighbor and volunteer state. So there was always caring for individuals, but actual shelter programs, there hasn't been a lot.
And between you and Nashville Rescue Mission and the city cold weather shelter that they open up, does that now cover the need?
No,
Or
not even
what
close.
happens with all the overflow?
So people sleep in campgrounds. You see that on the news all the time. They sleep in campgrounds. They sleep in places where they feel like they can be safe. And then they sleep in places they shouldn't be sleeping, in corners and under bridges and railroad track areas. This is why people get hit by cars, get hit by railroad trains. This is why people get arrested for different places for trespassing, because they're in places they shouldn't be, parking garages, different things like that. So
Yeah, 'cause
people are
isn't there a law now that they can't?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, but I don't know necessarily if they're not necessarily enforcing that all the time.
Okay.
We work a lot with the police to be able to have a compassionate response. So rather than it being, hey, you're here, get out of here, we provide them snack bags, we provide them shirts and clothing and all kinds of different things. And then the cadets for the city, they actually come and do their diversity training at our location.
Oh, wow.
Where they come and they learn, and we try to let's create a first line that's going to be helpful. Hey, I see you're sleeping here. This is probably not the best place for you. Here's a bag of food. It has information on it, how you can get to room in the inn. So we're trying to help them to have a compassionate response to that. Because certainly there are rules and laws about where they can sleep and so, but it's a process. It's not like a one-time thing where it's like, you get out of here. It's a process in it.
Yeah. So my niece just moved here from LA, and last night she was at my house and she was telling me about how she went up to East Nashville. She lives in Franklin. They moved to Franklin.
Okay.
And she went up to East Nashville to visit her sister who lives there, and stopped at Joyland for a burger and fries. Great restaurant, by the way. Little plug for Joyland. So she got her burger and fries, and she was walking to her car, and she noticed a homeless couple. And she gets into her car, and the man approaches her vehicle. And as she's telling me the story, she's like, I'm not afraid of homeless people. I'm from LA. And I thought that was really remarkable to me, because it is true in Los Angeles, the unhoused community is...
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. And so everywhere you go, there are unhoused people. And so she, growing up in that, has kind of, it's familiar to her, so she's not as intimidated by it. So she rolls down her window, and he asks her for money, and she says, I don't ever carry cash with me, but are you hungry? I can give you some of my fries. And so he's like, okay, I'll take your fries. And so she offers him her fries, and she watches him walk away with them. And she says to me, she goes, sometimes homeless people throw away the food that you give them, but he ate it all. And I was really happy.
Yeah.
But I thought that was so interesting, because that is what Room in the Inn and Winter Shelter invites us into. Because if you don't have interactions with the unhoused community, I think a lot of people can be intimidated or fearful of that. But what's so beautiful is when the bus comes and unloads the 12 guests that we house for the night, most of the response that we get from people who are volunteering and participating is that, oh, they're just like us.
Right.
You know? So can you talk about that, Steve, and what your experience has been with that?
Yeah, it is just that, in that, I've had some great conversations, and you find some very intelligent, very gifted, very talented people in these conversations. And then you usually get into what led them to their situation. And it can be a financial issue. It could be addiction. It could be mental health.
Or even just regular health issues that they had lost all their money on.
Yeah. There was one gentleman that's here who is almost totally blind, and just having to help him get to the bathroom or something to that effect. But it was, I was thinking about it since you mentioned this yesterday, Susie, of some of the experiences that really stood out. And there was one evening that one of our volunteers said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Target. I'm going to pick up some boots for this one guy. You need to figure out how to get him aside, because if you don't bring enough for the entire class, everybody gets upset." But when he came back with them and I got this guy there and gave him the boots, he was very happy to have the boots. But what he actually started crying over was the fact, he goes, "Oh my God, he actually listened to me. He heard my story." And it's kind of, I think, trendy to say, "Oh, I see you," or "I hear you." But this was an example that somebody did, and that meant so much to him. He definitely was glad to have the boots.
Yeah.
But then there are other nights, you mentioned sleeping. And it's not the most restful night I get to sleep. And I have the privilege of going home, and Amy gives me the chance for a 2 or 3 hour nap afterwards. But I'll be thinking, "Oh man, that was a rough night." And then to have one of our guests walk up and goes, "Oh God, that was the best night's sleep I've had in weeks." And you're like going, I've got nothing to complain about.
Yeah. Wow.
They're just happy to be here. They appreciate the meal. And then in the morning, I'm technologically challenged, but I have figured out how to get the news on for them because they want to watch the news. And I'm thinking, originally I thought they're staying trendy on current events. They want to know the weather, especially if it's cold. They want to know if the library is going to be open, so they have a place to go during the day. They're using this to find what they need to survive for just the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
And that's very humbling. And you want to find everything you can to help. I've gone out to my car and gotten things just because we didn't have something and they had a specific need. And I'll give them literally the shirt off my back sometimes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's kind of often a stigma, and like, this is what a person who's experiencing homelessness is like.
Yeah.
And there's crime and it's all in the news right now. It's like, this is the type of people these people are, and we need to get them off the street because they're causing all those kinds of harm. And honestly, I would say the percentage of people that are maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing is probably very, very small. Room in the Inn sees 4,000 unique individuals every year. And I would say a majority of those are there every day. They spend the whole day with us, and then they go to the rescue mission or they go to wherever they're sleeping. They're not trying to be in places they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They're just trying to survive for the next 24 hours and trying to do the best they can to keep moving forward. Moving forward is like the slowest process. There was a gentleman just last week, and just to get his birth certificate took him 3 months.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. I want to know, what do they do all day when they're with you guys? Because you offer other enrichment activities and things like that. But like the birth certificate situation, you guys help with stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
can you
we
talk
help with
about
IDs, birth certificates, Social Security cards, applying for entitlements and things like that. But
what does that mean, applying for entitlements?
Entitlements like food stamps,
Okay.
or for your SSDI or SSI, or things that are going to help you get some income, or something that's going to supplement your income a little bit. All those things have to be applied for, and they all take resources to do that. We take for granted that I'm just going to go to my house, I'm going to apply this, I'm going to go on the computer, I'm going to look all this stuff up. I probably have most of the documentation I need to even start that process.
Yeah.
And so it becomes really, really hard. We actually just started partnering with the Department of Safety and Homeland Security, and they'll actually be here this week. They come once a month, and they bring the computers, and they bring the whole process.
Oh, that's amazing.
So people can actually get their IDs and real IDs like there. So that means they don't have to go to the place and stand in line or create an appointment. And anybody that's dealing with the real ID thing right now.
I'm going to Chattanooga at the end of the month to get one.
You know how hard that is. So all our staff are like, "Can we do this?"
I know. Yeah, can we get in on this?
Can we get in on this? But yeah, that whole process, and to be able to sit there and not be treated like, oh, what are you doing here? And with suspicion and
Right.
and things like that, and be able to do it. So we about 30 people a month we've only done it 2 months, so this will be our third time. 30 people a month are getting their IDs, which a process, like I said, that might take them months to do if we were doing it the other way around.
So once they get their IDs, then they can also then get their social security card replaced, or
they can get anything that they need to have replaced. Yeah. And then we can store those items for them too. We highly encourage them to do that.
Oh, that's good.
So if you can store your IDs or birth certificate, all those kinds of things with us, if they ever get lost or stolen, like your copies of them, things like that, you can just come back to us and we'll make you another copy. Because we don't want them to get lost or stolen. Then you got to go through the whole process. But you can't apply for housing.
Yeah.
You can't apply for a job. You can't apply for any entitlements. You can't apply for anything unless you have those basic documents. So we did over 1,000 replacement IDs and birth certificates last year. And that's an ongoing process that we don't have money for. We just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Can you guys back up for just a minute? I want to know how each of you got involved with this and what your motivation was. Steve, I know you do a lot of things, so what was it about this that drew you specifically? And then I want to hear Suzie talk about, for Journey, why it is that we don't partner with every organization that's out there. What was it about this that matches the core values of Journey? So can you guys tell us a little bit about your journey?
I mean, literally for me, I had just retired and I was looking for ways to get involved. Philanthropy was one of the things I wanted to do. Amy and I are pretty big on that. And this nice gentleman was up one morning. He goes, "Yeah, we need somebody to stay overnight." And I'm like, that sounds simple enough. And
so there wasn't
really,
any like
there was no magic
strategy
seeking it out.
thing, like, I
think we had just started it, and he literally needed overnight guests, and I know that that's a challenge for people who are working, because it's during the middle of the week, and it's something I could do. I mean, it's really as simple as that. It's just seeing something, and I mean, we went to a concert the other night, and they were talking about help for veterans, and it's just, those are the kind of things I look for. And it's like, I could do that. And it's seeing a need and just realizing it takes something. You and I the other day volunteering at the food bank, it's just getting involved and doing something simple. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but it's taking that first step.
And for other people, you can come and make a meal. You can come and set up or bring breakfast.
Yeah, somebody's got to do the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basic stuff, but it's doing 14 sets of laundry when you count the for bed linens. When you
Let's
count
not talk
the
about
staff.
that. Nobody wants to do laundry.
There
are some angels in our midst.
we have
that come
had
and
people
pick
who
up
stay
the
up
laundry.
all night, take the guests' laundry home,
Like their
do
clothes.
individual loads, get them
Wow.
clean, folded, and back here by 6 the next morning. That's, to me, above and beyond.
That's one thing I would love to do, is get like a set of scrubs for everyone to wear, and then be able to take their clothes and wash them for them.
Yeah. Probably not scrubs. Probably
Well, they're
not.
always asking me if they have scrubs.
Yeah, I think there's other congregations that do scrubs.
Okay.
And so they've done that before, like, here, just wear this until
Yeah.
we can get back.
Uniform.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm open for anything.
Yeah.
It's our
Yeah.
thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
they ask for different things. I think they go to different congregations. They'll
Right.
ask for services. There must be some really decked out churches out there, but
I went to a church one time, and I was walking through their hallway, and I saw that they had like these big closets, and they had room in the inn supplies on there.
Wow.
And I was a little jealous.
Yeah. There's a congregation here close by in Franklin. When they did their remodel for their building, they started with room in the inn. They said, what does room in the inn need? And then we will design everything around it.
That's amazing.
And I was like, that's amazing. Follow-up question, Steve. Did you have any other, like, was there something in your background, things like that drew you to helping people who are unhoused?
no, not necessarily. It's just I always wanted to know how they got where they are. And one of the things we were talking about, the different situations that have led to them. have yet to meet one of them that really enjoys outdoor camping. They aren't there because this is something they want to do.
Yeah.
But it just seems to be something simple to help.
Yeah.
You didn't tell your story, Mark.
Oh yeah, I got interested in Steve's.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've done a lot in my life, but I was a pastor at one point, and most people who are pastors also supplement their income, right? They have multiple jobs, and so I was working actually at MAPCO, and when I was working at MAPCO, I started managing those stores, and when I kind of left ministry, I was doing that full time, and I was in a part of Nashville that had a lot of unhoused. And I remember getting very angry about the situation, and not because of kind of like, oh, this is not right in society, but because I was experiencing something that I felt it was the person coming up to my car. It was that kind of stuff. It was asking for money, and I was getting angry. Why are they doing this and that kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And I've tried to teach myself that if you're angry about something, there might be something more to that than just that.
Yeah.
And so I started investigating myself and like, why are you angry about this? And so I started going into those circles and started making actually relationships and having good conversations with people. And
what do you mean going into those circles?
Well, because they were at my store.
So you were starting to develop relationships
and ask questions and get curious and just try to like understand the circumstances so I could stop being angry and actually start going, oh, actually there's more to this than what I knew. So fast forward, I was in that retail world for a while and said, I do not want to do this anymore. What do I want to do? And I really was like, I really want to help people and some capacity, but I don't think I want to go back to ministry.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I don't know. And
just kidding.
Yeah, I love my job. And so I actually went back to school and did through University of Phoenix online, where I was working my 60 hours a week at MAPCO. I was doing school on top of that. And so I got my bachelor's degree in human services. And to finish that degree, I had to do a 8-month-long internship somewhere. And I ended up at Room in the Inn to do that.
Wow.
And I did it in our guest house. So our guest house, guest house started in 1991 as a place for the publicly intoxicated. The jails were overcrowded, and they looked to Room in the Inn, who was already showing compassion and love to people who are unhoused. And they said, hey, we need to decrowd the jails. And so the easiest place is just the people who are publicly intoxicated. And so we started doing that, providing shelter for them when they get picked up by police rather than taken to prison. Now they have a criminal record. Now they have to go through the whole court system. Rather than doing that, let's bring them to the Room in the Inn. They can stay up to 3 days, recover from that. And they still do that program. So the guest house, and like I mentioned earlier, they do veterans, they do respite care coming out of the hospitals, they do people coming out of prison, all kinds of different things. So it's 86 beds if we are at full capacity in that building. So that's where I did my internship at Room in the Inn, was that portion of it. And I was there and I was like, I love this. This is, and Room in the Inn has a spirituality background founded by priests, things like that. But everyone is welcome at Room in the Inn. Spirituality, we don't define spirituality as a certain denomination or anything. And in fact, the Winter Shelter Program has Islamic temples. They have Jewish synagogues who participate in that. And then they have people that just are community groups that don't even have their own building, but they want to do this. So like you have all of Nashville being a part of that, and we're fine with that.
That's beautiful.
We don't agree about a lot of things, but we agree that we should love our neighbor.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of saw that because I didn't want to go back into the church, and that was kind of like my apprehension about. I was like, I don't want to work for a religious organization either. But I love the way that they just showed compassion and love and hospitality to people, and so I just never left.
So everybody is welcome. Sounds like
that's why.
Yeah.
That's the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for us at Journey, going back to your question, Grant, as to why Room in the Inn is such a great partner for us. One, Mark.
Well, and let's
initially Mark.
Stop
I would
there
say.
for a second,
Yeah.
because we've been talking about these different organizations, and one of the reasons that we pick organizations is that we have a strong advocate in the community. This works, building relationships and building relationships with organizations and with individuals, only when you have somebody who can be that connector, right? Otherwise, we're just, and this is something we've done in the past, you're just writing checks.
Yeah, and I would say Room in the Inn is one of the stronger relationships we have with our partners, and that is because of Mark. Because Mark not only advocates for them, but he also happens to work there. And so it really, it goes really smoothly for us because of Mark. But also I will say that the volunteers have become so regular, like people like Steve. There's a few people like Steve who volunteer quite a bit. And for the last couple of years, Mark and I have been talking about trying to give the advocacy portion of this to someone else, because we can. There are people who we could talk to about that now. But I remember when you approached us with the possibility of doing winter shelter, you just said, you're like, it's exactly what we do at Journey. It's basically the table. We have the table twice a month for the unhoused community, and it's 12 guests. They show up at our quote unquote house, and we have tables set up, and we provide a meal, but more than just providing a meal, we join them in the meal. And we sit with them, we talk with them. Like Steve was saying, we ask them, just a few questions, and it leads to them telling us their story. And it humanizes them, and it humanizes us, I will say, because I think, like I said earlier, and Mark was saying too, like there are all these stigmas with the unhoused community, and unless you like everything you might feel angry about, like you did, Mark, or everything that you might have these judgments or preconceived notions about or fears about, when you actually go in and meet somebody and talk to them and listen to them and hear their story, whatever it is, it not only humanizes them, but it humanizes us in the sense of, like, we realize we are really all the same. And we have more in common with our neighbors than we don't. And I think often those kinds of relationships are what move people into places of health, whether it's getting off the streets or becoming clean and sober, whatever it is. But it's just one little thing that we're able to do, and we don't own the outcome of it. We don't, you tell us we can't really follow up with each individual person, for all the reasons. But we can trust God with the outcome of it, and we can recognize that this is our part that we can do. And we have this beautiful building with the space that we can create into a very cozy little environment in the winter, and it's awesome.
I feel like up until now we were talking about people being able to spend the night and get out of the cold, but you brought it right to the core of the experience that I've had volunteering, which is that meal that's shared around the table. Someone's cooked that meal, and then you're eating the same meal that the guests are eating, and you're sitting there, and some of them just want to go watch TV, but you're sitting there talking to people for an extended period of time. Can you?
Yeah,
were you nervous about that to start, or?
Oh yeah. It's like, okay, I'm the only one. Sometimes I've been the only one here with them overnight, and that's first couple of times is intimidating. We've had a few instances where somebody just had nothing bad, but there have been a few incidents. Some nights have gone better than others, we'll just say.
Yeah.
But there's never been any, I've never felt scared, intimidated, threatened.
Or unsafe.
Unsafe through the whole thing. And Suzie, you kind of almost glossed over it, but we started this doing it once a month. And then we basically doubled what we were doing. And I don't think there's any gap of volunteers. I mean, it's hard to find a slot to make a meal for Room in the Inn. People want to help with this. And they come, and it's really good when they bring their kids, because then they see this, they interact with them. They have an opportunity to see this too, that it's not, these are people.
And for little kids, even something as simple as like there's a buffet line there and just serving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and some of them
draw
make
notes, and they
placemats
make
notes,
placemats, draw notes, leave
Right.
for them and everything. They make little care bags for them to take. And you learn over time. I now know what the preferred breakfast meal is. I brought some things thinking it was going to be great, and then took them all home or left them for the staff.
What is the preferred breakfast?
They really like the breakfast sandwiches. Like something that you can wrap in foil, and then hopefully you have enough for them to take. They want something to take with them, but something that's going to be grab, go, portable. You know, so we try and do like the protein milks, the things that are shelf stable that they can take with them and have for the day. They actually like the fresh fruit. So it's not, they don't want anything too fancy,
Yeah.
but they'd like to be able to take it with them because they've figured out what they need.
And some people don't want to eat at 5 o'clock in the morning when they're waking up.
True.
Right.
They want to grab it, and then I'll eat it later when I'm feeling a little bit more. I don't know. We're all the same in that way. Not everybody wants to wake up in the morning at 5 and go, let me eat right away.
Yeah, I think another thing I've noticed, and it kind of speaks to what Mark said for the ones who can't find shelter, is they're restless. They're up every couple of hours. They either go out to smoke, they're up, they're moving around, because usually they're probably having to keep an eye out. You know, literally sleep with one eye open. So they're not, some of them will crash. I've had to wake them up in the morning because the bus was coming. Some of them will crash hard, but a lot of them are just kind of constantly aware of their environment.
Yeah.
That they can't, they're in someplace safe, but even then they don't fully relax.
I mean, most of the time they're at the rescue mission. So that's hundreds of people sleeping in the same room. I'm not sleeping well with 100 people in the same room, and you're thinking about your things and things like that, and it's needed. You absolutely have to have the rescue mission, because there's no way, and they have more rules than what we can have. I always say it's like going to grandma's house. They're coming to grandma's house, and so they're going to get an extra helping of something, and they may sleep a little bit better, but their normal situation is they're sleeping with hundreds of people, and that's not always restful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've even, and again, you look at ordered a big box of earplugs off of Amazon. Me personally, I snore like, I've been told by my children that I snore like a chainsaw being run through a wood chipper. So I bought a big bag of earplugs for them because that helps them sleep just a little bit better.
Yeah.
So,
So what are some other ways? I mean, we do the winter shelter program, but what are some other ways that our community can get more involved with Room in the Inn?
Yeah. So it sounds silly, but like following Room in the Inn on social media is actually, we post all of our needs on there all the time. So like right now we have an urgent need for socks. Those things come up all the time, and then we post them on there. So that's really important to just kind of know that. We want people to come and volunteer, just like you said, like the kids and things like that. We want people to come to the campus and get exposed in ways that is going to be uncomfortable a little bit, but it's going to be safe. So most people come and they volunteer either in our cafe program, which is on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or in our lunch program, which is Monday through Friday.
And what do you do in the cafe program?
Serve coffee.
Okay.
We get pastries from $5 Bakery.
Ooh.
We get their day-olds, so like they go to a good place. Sometimes we have sausages and biscuits. We always generally have grits and oatmeal. And it's a little smaller group that we do for that. We have entertainment that comes and plays. We have a beautiful stage. And we just serve coffee, as much coffee as they want. And they drink a lot of coffee. We all drink a lot of coffee. Let's just say that. And
your campus, you've got a beautiful campus now
it's really large.
Just south of downtown on 8th Avenue.
And we own that, so we're there forever.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a nice facility. It's a safe facility. People
Yeah.
can feel good about going there and volunteering in various
And you're not
ways.
there by yourself. You're there with staff members. It's just going to be an easy fit to be able to come in, kids of all ages. adults and be able to just really kind of experience what it is in a safe way. And then what often happens from that, we have lots and lots of stories where people, they start in the cafe or they start in the lunch program, and then they're like, well, I'm really good at this subject. Do you think someone would want to learn about that? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. Let's learn about that. So there's classes they can do. The classes are all over the board. Like, I do a sports highlight class once a week. It's just me putting together highlights. I mean, it's nothing huge, but during the week, the guys talk to me like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? Have you heard about this? Do you think they're going to be good? People like NASCAR a lot more than I thought they did. But we have an older couple who teach a class on crops that change the world, and it is always full.
Wow.
And they're talking about corn and coffee, and they're talking about all these things but it's a very interesting subject. And then there's serious things. We have alcohol and drug recovery classes. We have finance classes. The library comes and does a basic computer skills. Belcourt comes and does a film series. Country Music Hall of Fame does songwriting classes. I mean, there's serious, there's not. So like, people start in the cafe and the lunch, then they move the classes, and then they're like, well, what else can I do? And there's always more. There's always more that can be done. And those people become the advocates. They are the ones that because people work in all kinds of sectors of life, and they're the ones that are in those circles, and they can now speak, well, actually, no, I know Richard, I know John, I know Susie, I know all these people, and they're not that. Almost every mayor that has been in Nashville has done a Room in an Inn program at their own congregation.
Wow.
That makes a difference in how people vote and how people exercise, all those kinds of things. It makes a difference because it's not a number, it's not something on TV, it's an actual person with an actual story. And then you can say, no, I don't think that's the truth. What I know is that these people are great people, and they're just trying to kind of move forward as much as they can.
One of the things that I was thinking of when you were talking about it earlier, that I guess something that did start for me, I've always been, it's just the odd way that I think, but you'll see it on TV that they're cleaning out an encampment, or, oh, good news, we've passed a law that makes camping outdoors in public places illegal. Okay, now what? That's great. You've busted up that encampment. Where do those people go? They're not there because they really want to be there.
Right.
What's next is usually what comes to my mind, and that's what kind of started me thinking about it.
And what's amazing, and I didn't include this in the history, but Room in the Inn started because they cleared out a campground on the riverbank. And so they went. So this is not a problem that's like, oh, it's just new. It's a new problem. Right. It's an old problem. People are always doing this. They're always going to settle in communities and groups because that feels safe to them. It's not a new problem. And so we have to try to figure out how we can respond to those needs in a different way. Kind of go upstream and figure out why are people falling into this situation in the first place.
So at Journey, the overnight program runs November
to the end of March.
And you get involved with that by getting the newsletter, signing up on the website.
Yeah, we usually start taking signups in October for it. We'll be talking about it at the beginning of October, I'm sure. And it fills up fast. And so I will say, if it's filled up, you have the freedom to be creative. Like, we had a woman approached us a couple weeks ago on a Sunday and said she wants to make sack lunches for everyone.
Nice.
Which is something they request.
Yeah. And so, like, that's not generally on our ways you can serve list, is it? When you sign up?
Some people make snack bags. But she wants to make sack lunches, which is a little bit different. Like, it's like an actual lunch. And so we talked about how that could be possible, and absolutely. I was like, let's
people can get real creative with how they can help. And like, we had the people show up and start doing laundry, like washing their actual clothes, and there's lots and lots of different ways to serve. And if you sign up, if you go to sign up and you see that it's full, you can just reach out to Mark, because
we'll figure it out.
He has a plethora of ideas.
Well, that was my other question, is outside of, of course, for the overnight program, but then all of these other opportunities, should people be in contact with you? And if so, how do they do that? Or should
I
they
mean,
be in
certainly they
contact
can. The
with Journey?
easiest thing to do is just email our volunteer team at Room in the Inn. So it's volunteer@roomintheinn.org. You can just go to the website too, roomintheinn.org, and there's a place to like, how do I get involved? That's probably the easiest way, just so it goes to a team and it's not going to just one person. But you can, a lot of times they'll just contact Suzie, and then she'll send it my way. That's absolutely fine too. So,
And they contact Suzie by...
Suzie at journeytn.com.
There you go.
Suzie. And UPS is here.
Apparently.
Okay, should we wrap it up?
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap?
No, I'm just thankful. I just want to give my gratitude. I mean, we have, I think it was somewhere close to 150 people who volunteered last year. I mean, I can't do this by myself. I need Steve's. I need people that are going to just say, yeah, this is my thing. I can do it. You do not, just like every other ministry here at Journey Church, you don't have to commit to every night of it.
Right.
You can do it once in the whole 5 months that we do it. And that would be fine. And then I would just encourage you to expose your kids to it. It's a safe place for that. And probably on the street corner is not the safest place for you to expose your kids to people who are unhoused. But here is. This is a place where people can sit down. And it'll be just like the table, just as awkward as the table. When you go to a new table, I'm sure there's lots of like, how am I going to talk to these people?
Yeah.
What are they going to say? Are they going to like me? Or am I going to like them? It will be okay. Okay. And we can, people who are introverts or extroverts, we've got different things. You can set up, you can do all kinds of different things. But I'm just so grateful that Journey has kind of embraced this. Because I would listen to sermons and I'd be like, that's us.
Yeah.
That's us. And so I was like, I'm so grateful that you guys do this. Not just because it's part of my job, but because like I love it as a community.
Well, it's been a gift to our community, and the fact that you brought it to us, we're really grateful that we get to serve and be part of it. And we're, it's awesome. It's such a great experience for our community, but it's also so formative for us. So it's really important. So thank you, Mark. And thank you, Steve, for...
Yeah, and I was just going to say, there was one night we had a few years, I don't know if it was this year or the year before, when we had a really bad winter storm coming on. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, wow, that's going to hit tomorrow night. I wonder if we're still going to do... And it hit me at that moment. I'm like, oh, God, is the weather going to be too bad for us to house the unhoused? And in that moment, I was really ashamed of myself for even thinking that.
Yeah.
And we actually did have to delay it because we couldn't get them here.
We couldn't get the van out of the
parking
driveway.
lot.
Yeah.
But they came the
Amazing.
next evening. I think there were 3 of us here.
We just made it work.
I just sent them home, everybody home. And I go before it gets dark. And I looked out the window that night. The wind was blowing across the parking lot. Snow was drifting up against the doors. And they were inside and they were warm.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's incredibly important. It's incredibly important. There's an actual thing that happens, and then there's the other thing that happens as a result of us doing this. There's the actual housing people, which is very, very important as well.
Well, thank you, both of you. We really appreciate your time and your stories. And this is the way that it's supposed to work with partners at Journey. We've talked so many times about not having programs or defined things that people can volunteer to do, but this has just grown organically, and it's become a really beautiful expression of who we are as a community, and the organizations and the partners and the relationships that we can build. So thanks to you both.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, everybody.